Your mind is a playground, not a battleground. We come into life and we are around all these other people whose, their mind is a battleground, so they confer that ideology onto us, and then our mind becomes a battleground. And what happens is we become, and we feel like we're this one person army against the other army, and not only that, we're also against spies in our own army. So we're just beating on everywhere, outside, inside, and it's a battle that we just can't win. Most of us, some of us do, but I mean, it's the war that you just can't get to. But with this analogy, what happens is when we're that one person against the all, obviously we can't win, and that endless conflict just uses up a lot of energy. So what we want to do is we want to shift from the battleground mentality to the playground mentality. And on the playground, there's a bunch of children playing, and they're all playing together, and then there's the teacher watching over them. So basically, you're going to become the teacher, and the rest of your mind is that playground, and your thoughts and emotions and everything that happens from the outside will be things that happen in that playground and kids that are playing on that playground. So when we start to look at that, we can kind of lighten things up a little bit and not take it so seriously. So what happens is, as the teacher, when the kid comes up to us and they ask a question, or they say this thing, I want to do this, as a teacher, you say yes or no. And so what happens is we use that in our thoughts and emotions, because our thoughts and emotions are the same way. They're just asking us. They're saying, hey, are you going to agree with this thought? Are you going to agree with this emotion? And pretty much 100% of the time we do agree with it. So what happens is we become that ineffective teacher. So you want to be that responsible teacher that knows boundaries and sets clear boundaries and doesn't allow them to go over that. So what happens when we do that is we start to take control over everything that's going on inside of us, and then we can appropriately behave in the future. And then it comes from a place that's not conflict driven. It's from a place of peace and calm and the ability to share what's going on. Now, yes, we're going to be around other people that are still in that battleground mentality, but what happens is it's almost like they get a day off from their battle when they're around you and you're in your playground mentality. It's kind of really neat. You can really see the difference between the two, and in a way, it is kind of tough in this world when you end up that way, because as you get more calm and more peace and more joy in your life and you're happier and more fulfilled, a lot of the world isn't that way, and they start to think that you're not normal because you're not like them. But that's good, because that's a good example, because we want to be able to raise other people up. That's the best reason to do what we do, because when we can raise ourselves up, then we can raise other people up. So start to really look at your brain like it's more of a playground than a battleground, and start to work together. You think of the children on the playground, they play with each other, they do things amongst each other. They're not interacting with the teacher most of the time. There's just certain times where they're gonna talk to the teacher, or there's certain times where the teacher has to call them out. So that is like, when you're having an emotion that you're very uncomfortable with, call it out and say, I don't want to feel that right now. But you can also explore it as the teacher, be like, why are you feeling that way? Draw that emotion out a little bit, come to terms with it, acknowledge that it's present within you, and then just let it go and find something else. That's the cool thing as the teacher, is you get to tell those kids what to do and they'll do it. There's just no way around it. They can go to detention. Now, the other way to look at that playground mentality is it's like an ongoing recess. We always want recess to never end, but the cool thing is in our head, that recess is always going on. We want to have that creativity and that imagination. We want to be able to allow that part of us to flow. And that's why the teacher is there, and that's why the recess is there. So everything comes into balance. The teacher isn't teaching lessons during recess. The teacher is letting the students do what they want to do and enjoy their time. And that allows them to have proper expression of behavior. And that's the same thing with your thoughts and your emotions, is when you only allow the proper ones that you agree with to come into your awareness, then the ones that you no longer agree with will just stop coming in. It just takes a little while for that balance to take place, but the more you work on it and the more you take on that teacher mentality, the more you'll see that it becomes effective, and your days become better. You think clearer, you're able to make better decisions, you're able to have better interactions with people, because you're not spending so much time up in here. Everything up in there is going good. You let it out, and then you can have that interaction with a person and listen to them and be able to enjoy each interaction as it actually happens, as opposed to blanketing and saying, well, every activity that I partake in is going to be the same. You never know. Every recess is different. Every playground is different. We all have our playground. So I encourage you today to lighten up a little bit, Get out of the battleground mentality, get into that playground mentality, smile a little bit, play a little bit, have a little bit more fun with life. There's a lot going on in here. Your subconscious is just full of endless creativity and imagination, so let it flow. Be more childlike but not childish. So take on that playground mentality, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Thank you.